Hello, listeners. This is the Risky Planner Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. If you recall, every Nate I've ever met, when they introduce themselves and the person mishears, they say Dave. I recently met randomly somebody who reached out on LinkedIn who was named Nate. I asked him straight up and he responds back. He's like,
yes,
LOL. All the time, I have to pronounce the hard T. I'm telling you, it's a conspiracy theory. It's not even a theory. It's a conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy that requires planning. Okay. Speaking for the rest of us who are not named Nate or Dave, there is no plan here.
And for all you Nates listening, I have started a LinkedIn page branded Nate Not Dave on LinkedIn. So please join my LinkedIn community. Nate,
oh my
Dave.
God. On behalf of the rest of us out there with sensible names that are easy to pronounce, and I can't do that because people can pronounce my name, but my last name, nobody can spell it. No one can spell Brier. I would love to throw this to the listeners, be like, spell my last name, Brier. Now, don't cheat. Don't go to the show page. Don't look at your podcast app. Just spell it in your head. What do you get? I'm going to give you a second.
Bryer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people are like, Briar. At
least you're not getting Dave. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's been proven as recently as last week. And I'm going to continue. So again, to all those Nates out there, please join my LinkedIn group, Nate.Dave on LinkedIn. I'll see you on my page.
You are saying Nate, not Dave, not Nate.Dave, right?
Nate, not Dave.
Okay, because
but you probably heard Dave, not Dave, right? Is that what you heard? Yeah.
No, I heard Nate, but I wasn't sure if I was hearing Nate.Dave as if Dave was a top level domain.
I think Nates just generally have a gap in the speaking skill department, which is a kind of like prelude to our topic today.
So what are we talking about, Nate/Dave?
We're going to talk about the skills gap, a crisis, in fact. So imagine, you're trying to get a $1 billion project off the ground and you're in infrastructure. You lack a whole swath of skilled professionals from all over the project in all kinds of different disciplines, and they're not available. And so we're going to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, and you're right. I would love to know the answer to this question because what you're posing isn't a hypothetical for me. Like I actually do staff project teams onto $1 billion projects or programs of work, and I don't always have the ability to just pick from the list of the long list of highly qualified people. That list doesn't exist for me, right? And I've always been curious about why that is, but can I tell you a quick story that kind of helps?
Sure.
Okay. So I moved to Canada in 2014 to support a project, which we actually talked about last time.
On another project.
That's right.
Yeah, another podcast. Right?
It's the same podcast, different episode. Yeah. But that's okay.
Right.
That's okay, Dave. So the project was the Imperial Campus project. And Imperial hired me originally to come up and do to write a memo, basically. They hired me to show up and say, here's what you guys need from a project controls, but more specifically a schedule management perspective. So I put together a little org chart, a WBS for the work, and said here's what you need, here's how many people, here's how you should carve the work up, here's some job descriptions, here's how you're going to hire them. And they're like, okay, great, we hire that person. We want you to hire the senior scheduler. Okay, says I. This was in 2013, by the way. So 2013, by the way, 12 years ago, for those of you listening in the dim and misty future from your space yacht or whatever. But anyway, so 12 years ago, I threw out the net into the entirety of Western Canada, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, mainly.
Yep.
We found, I think, 3 qualified candidates in the entirety of Western Canada. One fit the bill. We hired him. A few months in, he decided that it wasn't really working out for him, and he was going to go on sabbatical, and he vanished. He quit and he vanished. Okay. So during that time, I kept receiving feedback that hey, this guy's really technically skilled. He knows what he's doing. He brings a lot to the table, but he doesn't really jive with our culture. He's not fitting in. He doesn't seem happy. He's not building the relationships that you need to be a good planner. Right.
Yep.
And that was worrisome to me. So my plan was to go up and coach this guy and help him get
integrated.
Exactly. Yep. Right.
Yep.
And right about what I was planning to do that, sabbatical, and he disappears.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oof.
Yeah. Oof is right. So, I told the story last time as if like, oh, they needed me for this project. So they brought me up here on a commuter contract, and then I moved here, and I've lived here for the past, 10 years more, right? 11 years. And now you know why. Okay. It wasn't because that was plan A. This is very much plan B. Like plan A was for us to hire somebody in Western Canada, and we couldn't do it. So yeah.
It's true. There is a shortage, like a massive shortage. Like we've had discussions with clients, in BC, in Ontario, in Alberta, like they can't find the people that they need to execute, to plan and then execute the projects. That they have on their roadmap.
And we aggregated some research for this episode that tells us that about 94% of construction contractors can't fill their open positions in project controls. 94%.
Yeah.
So
wow.
And layer that similar research, 41% of the workforce is going to retire by 2031. Now that may sound like the past to you, space yacht person, but it's 6 years in the future for us.
Yeah.
So 6 years isn't that long. I'll still be working by then.
We also had some research on just how many major projects like an individual might do in their entire career. So 6 years, I mean, that might be just one project.
It could just be, yeah, exactly. So
right?
A lot of people who are writing out their last project right now, right? And those people won't have replacements necessarily in 6 years lined up. So a lot of people balk when asked to train their replacement, like, oh, here's going to be the next Albert. I'm like, well, what's wrong with the current Albert? I'm still here, man. Like,
what about Albert 1.0? Well, so let's set the stage for a little bit. Like you've talked about a bunch of different problems. Can you just sum up and just level set with us? What is the issue that we face?
So the issue is, I think there's two, right?
Okay.
One is that the nature of my work, like my profession, project controls, is changing rapidly, right? And it's changing. We're not like, there isn't like a 10-year plan. We don't know what it's changing into. It's changing, while we watch. So,
right.
Folks like myself, I'm rapidly becoming an old timer here. I'm having to adapt as things go. So I'm a lagging indicator on how things are changing, not a leading one. So when I hire somebody that's going to need 2, 3, 5 years of training and seasoning to get up to, my level or better, I mean, I hope it would take longer than 2 years.
It's
but
quite self-aware of you to say.
Hey, somebody's going to take at least 15 minutes to know what I know.
Right.
But no, seriously, like anybody who's going to take years to develop the skill set to be like independently useful on a project, right? Like, I don't know what skills they're going to need by the time they reach that objective.
Right.
Nobody does.
Nope.
So that's one of the problems, right? It's like we know there's a skills gap, but we don't even know which skills there is a gap for. So that's thing one. Thing two is the skills that we can identify are atrophying. So things like, again, we talked about this last time. There's a lot of knowledge and experience that comes from firsthand
on-site. Remember the other episode where we talked about on-site
on-site
versus
experience.
Off-site.
Exactly. With so much work being offshored, that's going to further reduce how much time people are spending on job sites. But we're not waiting for that. Like we've reduced that already. Like even before COVID, there was a trend towards people managing schedule via conference call. Where like rather than spend thousands of dollars kitting them out with, fire retardant gear and safety stuff and like, reflectant stripes and teaching them how to be safe on site and, what happens when you see a bear, which by the way, you need extensive training to know what to do when you see a bear if you're going to be working in the arboreal forest, because there be bears,
Yes.
So like, guess where you're not going to find a bear? In your living room, unless you are a bear.
I mean, you maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't assume.
I mean, that makes a general assumption about the nature of my living room, but
it does. Yeah.
Maybe I want bears in my.
Yeah, I'm not referring to ceramic or plush
I digress
bears here. Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is that like all that costs money, right? It costs time.
Yep.
So there's a perception that you can get, most, if not all of the job done without ever sending someone through all that, right? Like when I was working in Nigeria, I had to take extensive training about malaria prevention and personal safety and, those kinds of things, because there may not be anymore, but there certainly was at the time a fairly high kidnapping risk for expats. Like at the airport, you really have to know who to talk to, who is safe, who isn't safe, how to get through that process without getting kidnapped is like a skill you need to learn. So you don't need to learn it if you're never going to Nigeria,
Does all of this translate into like premium pricing for client? Maybe let's take a step back. Let's talk about like our experience. So you mentioned earlier staffing for projects. Like what are you seeing right now? Like with our work, with our clients?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to answer both of your questions at once, because it's so hard for me to find junior people who are already skilled, it effectively does translate to a premium on especially scheduling talent, right? Like most of the people that we staff onto our client sites are either schedulers or risk professionals. And those are the two project controls disciplines that are kind of like, they're the bottom of the filter. Like you have to have done all the other stuff in order to be good at those things, especially risk. So there's some degree of experience in
what other stuff?
Well, sorry, cost management and estimating, and that kind of thing, like field measurements, things that are more quantitative in nature. And it's weird for me to describe schedule as qualitative, but it kind of is. Like it's more art than science. Like there's a black magic element to it. It's like when you talk to a mechanical engineer, they can tell you, here's how a motor works. And when you talk to an electrical engineer, they can say, we think this is how electricity works. Right. There's like a black magic element to scheduling and risk that isn't present in some of the other stuff. In order for me to field an experienced planner scheduler, I have to make one. I have to hire somebody straight out of school.
That's the black magic, right? Like you're just...
Yeah, exactly. Like I have to, I have a room full of apprentices dressed in black robes. Yeah.
Right.
So no, but all kidding aside, like I do have to train people if I want them to do things, the quote unquote correct way. I'm saying the correct way because what I really mean is the Albert way. But, lots of experience has taught me that the Albert way is generally speaking pretty good, right? Like it resonates with clients, it gets the job done. So if I want people to follow that, methodology and like know the things that I know, I have to be the one to teach them that.
What about the people that we're hiring? Like, what are they coming to the table with? Because we've got some all-stars that work here that you've trained, but what do you, like, what did they come to the table with?
So weirdly, our two best degrees, like or previous experience, if you will, like that have turned into like our best project controls people are finance and IT.
Interesting.
That's not what I would
like
have guessed.
Maybe because they speak the language, like they understand the mechanisms, they understand like frameworks, perhaps. Like what would you say?
I think maybe it's because they just attract intelligent people, like curious people who are task oriented and eager to learn,
Right.
So, and I don't know whether that trend would hold true for everybody doing this same work in the industry. But what I will tell you is we have made very, very few experienced hires into scheduling and risk. Very, very few. The one I can think of, honestly, is somebody that I've known for 11 years. So like we hired him because I knew him and I knew he was good. And part of the reason why I knew he was good is because we'd worked together.
Can we give him a shout out?
Part of us working. Yeah, man, it's Roger. Hey, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
Doing, man?
Shout out to,
you're real
to
good,
Roger.
Dude. But yeah, Roger and I worked together for a long, long time. And part of the reason why he's a really good scheduler is because he and I worked on it together and I trained him. The point though is that there's a level of training required that does put a pretty significant time limit on when I can field a scheduler onto a project.
When we can't find good people, skilled people to fill these, like what areas of a capital project are suffering the most?
Well, I would say it's probably risk, right?
Why that?
I would say it's probably risk because that bottom of the filter effect I was talking about before. You can train somebody to manage a schedule, quote unquote, manage a schedule relatively quickly if the only thing you expect them to do is like do data entry into P6, which a lot of schedulers now believe that that's what their job is, right? Like they receive an update, they process it just enough to type it into P6, and then they forget it ever happened. Right? Like they're not project professionals. They're data analysts and data entry clerks. Like that's not what the planning profession is meant to be, right? Why am I talking about schedulers when you ask me about risk professionals? Because a good risk professional needs to be a good planner, right? Doing risk management means having your arms around cost and quality and the scope, right? So you have to be pretty experienced at a lot of different kinds of work in order to do risk. And this is reflected in the data, right? Like there's a 20 to 40% salary premium over average project controls professional for a risk professional. So like if your average schedule is making $100,000, your average risk professional is making 130.
It's like the concrete guys versus the welders, right?
yes, there are certain trades where there is a premium because the skill gap is there,
yeah.
right? So like a risk is definitely that, right? And a lot of owners are writing Monte Carlo risk analysis, and if they're going standards compliant, then they're writing integrated cost and schedule Monte Carlo risk analyses into their requirements, so that every project has to complete, a Monte Carlo assessment every 6 months or 12 months,
right,
or at gates or whatever. That's a lot of risk analyses. So you can see, right?
Yeah.
Like there's an ever decreasing number of those people, and there's an ever increasing demand for them.
But generally speaking, like there is an analysis that needs to happen, and it's just not straightforward that anybody can step into the role and do what we need them to do. But I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because we can kind of like switch gears to talk about sort of remote work. I'd want to talk about AI too. I think you were alluding to how stuff is changing, and analysis is really important part of our work. What is that?
You ask me what is the black magic? Well, I know it when I see it, right? Yeah. Like some people just aren't good schedulers, and that's nothing against them. Like they just don't have the like lateral thinking for it. Some people need to be focused on something. Like some of the best cost managers I know are like absolutely killer estimators. They're great at cost management. They'll keep a project on track from a cost perspective. They'll make sure that changes don't fly out of control. They can read a contract and understand it like instinctively, but you put them in front of a schedule and they are lost in the woods.
Could you,
because there's
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, there's just a little something that just makes, I don't know. It's just a different skill.
It's the qualitative like abilities, the soft skills to do analysis and sort of the thinking, whether it's like on your feet or whatever. Yeah. But could you have somebody in India, like we talked about offshoring before, could you have somebody like there's India, a lot of companies have offshored to India, other like could you have somebody doing schedule analysis over there?
So if someone is doing that job from India or China or wherever, frankly, they might be amazing, have the secret sauce, do the black magic, but just be lacking the context that they need from a site visit or multiple site visits, or, like the interpersonal relationships you develop by being on site. Like you can get more out of a construction manager who trusts you, because you've like hung out together and how each other thinks, than you can out of someone who was instructed to like you by their boss.
You're right. Should if I'm a 35-year-old scheduler, that's a youngin compared to my old age. I'm quite along in my years.
Yes.
Like, should they worry about their a lot of companies they're trying to cover like reduce costs and whatever? Is the 35-year-old scheduler who's just starting to like hit their stride? Like, should they be worried?
That's another one of those really hard to answer, like where are we going to be in 10 years kinds of questions. I mean, like I hope the answer is no. But one of the ways that I've survived and thrived in this industry is by developing and cultivating a wide variety of skills, right?
Right.
Like I am not the best project scheduler I've ever met, nor am I the best estimator or risk manager or quality manager or construction manager, or I'm not the best at any one of those things, but I am the only person who has the depth of knowledge that I have in all of them, right? That I've ever met.
Right.
So, it makes me pretty broadly useful, right? And the fact that I'm a decent technical writer too means that I can take all that stuff and commit it to text. So I can do the work. I can teach people how to do the work. I can write procedures on how other people should do the work. I can analyze the work, right? I can do all of those things.
You can sing too.
I can sing. I can't dance, but I can sing. Will I prove that? No, I will not. But
I'd like to prove it someday, but we'll see.
One day, perhaps.
One day. Let's talk about the impact of AI, right? Like we don't know in 10 years. It's hard to answer the question. Like I know it was a tough question when I was asking. Like we don't know. What we are observing, and we've talked on quite a few episodes, is the impact that AI is having on this industry. So like, can you just get into that, sort of describe?
Yeah, for sure.
Like within this context.
So some stats from our research, like last year, this is from our research from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So last year they said that over the next 10 years, so by 2034, the the population of cost estimators would decline by 4%. And that's in the same background where over 50% of projects claim to have experienced delays from staffing gaps, right? So how can those things both be true? And the answer is because estimators, just like everybody else, have been getting, or every white collar profession at least, like the ones who aren't literally hands-on tools, and even them to some degree, like technology has made them so much more efficient. You know, to the extent that an estimator 30 years ago would need to literally open a book and look for the thing that they are attempting to get like a unit rate for, and put it into a spreadsheet. You know, an electronic spreadsheet, sure, 30 years ago, we definitely had those, but you're still like, you're building it from scratch. You're getting the information from a book. You're probably looking at like, you know, when I was first hired at F&G, the estimators still had drafting tables at their workstations.
Which are cool, but
they're very cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, man, did offices lose something when workstations stopped being specialized?
Yeah, no more
like
teak desks.
No.
Actually, Captain Habermeyer, you know, we've talked about,
of course,
he had, so all the military, like Navy issued the office furniture was all that, like, you know, the metal kind of,
the Navy chair,
right? Like 70s kind of postmodern look. Yeah. The desks were that metal kind of like, I don't know how to describe them, but they look awesome.
They do look awesome.
Yeah, so it's
as well. Like if I could live inside Crimson Tide, I probably would. I mean,
and it smells like machine oil.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, actually, subs do. I mean, I've been on subs. Thank you very much.
But yeah, you drove a sub famously.
I did, and I do have that picture. I'm gonna find it someday. What you're describing is kind of like. As I was preparing for this, an example would be like radiology, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've tested AI can sort of help read an X-ray better than, in many cases, an actual radiologist because they're able to spot trends and sort of patterns in the X-ray. And so AI is starting to do some of their job in helping them either hospitals hire less of them or they're doing better, higher value work. But that's kind of what you're describing. That's
it is. Well, it is, but I think there's a key point to be made here, and it's one that we've made many times, but there is some research on this. It's nascent. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and it has yet to be like, you know, widely repeated across universities, you know, worldwide. But the basic finding was if you give 3 groups of people the same problem to solve, and you tell group 1, you cannot use AI, and group 2, you must exclusively use AI, and group 3, you must use a combination of yourself and AI. Which group do you think performs the best?
Probably the combo.
The combo, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even close. Now, which group do you think performs the worst?
Probably the only AI.
No, it's both of them equally.
Oh, only AI and
only themselves. They performed equally badly in different ways. Now, you know, feel free to fact check me on this. Go look this up. There's some neat stuff to be read about this. But the point to be made is one that I've personally experienced. Like if I just throw a problem to AI and like
it's garbage.
Take the out, it's garbage.
Garbage
right?
in, garbage out. Yeah,
exactly. Right. And so, you know, anything that was trained on predominantly the entire contents of Reddit and Quora is going to be a little bit sketchy, right? And that's what most of those LLMs are based on, by the way. So if you were wondering why it occasionally reads like a Reddit comment, it's because it likely is a Reddit comment.
It's the Reddit comment,
Yeah. So the point there is that for every nugget of gold, there's going to be a pile of dirt, right?
Yep.
So sifting through the dirt to find the gold is the job of a seasoned professional. So you can do a lot of the analysis piece. You can do a lot of the document control piece and like document creation. Like right now I'm writing a comprehensive suite of procedure upgrades for one of our clients. And in the good old days, I would have had to do all that myself. Now I can get a first draft from an AI 10, 20 times faster than...
But that's after you've given it like a basic rough sort of outline. Like you're actually feeding it high quality
100%.
ideas,
and
right?
What it takes away from me, like 0 words from a final document that I present to a client will have come from an AI. They all pass through the Albert filter first, right?
So, which is funny you say that, because remember, even yesterday when I sent you that thing, I wrote some words, and you came back and said, it sounds like AI. And I was like, I went through every single word.
Yeah.
And I write like AI. now.
Yeah.
Like it's, but you make a key point, and that's the combo.
Yes.
Are the ones that are going to succeed.
Well, what's funny is, like I said, what that particular example, I did say to you that it sounded like it was written by AI, but I also said it's pretty good.
You gave it an out. You did say it was good. That was actually your first comment, was like, it's good, I like it, or something like that.
That's right.
Nate, you're amazing was also in there.
Yeah, Nate.
It might have been Dave, you're amazing.
I think I said Nate, and then maybe I said Dave later, but I definitely said you were very handsome and cool.
Right. Yes.
So that also happened.
Yeah, and you need to tell my kids that, because they Give me an example where AI saved you time. I think you were starting to talk about some of those things.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I mean, I can't think of an example of like work that I've done recently where I didn't use AI to save me time. I use it all the time. And like I said, 0% of the words and deliverables that I present to clients are written by AI. But they're all informed by AI, because they've gotten so much better at research. Like a lot of the research that we're citing for this episode was aggregated by Claude with the research function and deep thinking.
And then vetting.
And then we vet them.
After that,
Yeah,
it just speeds it up. Right.
It speeds it up. So we can come up with 87% of our statistics are accurate, Nate. Did you know that?
60% of the time, it works all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a fun joke. But the point is that, like, even just this episode of this podcast is informed pretty heavily by AI, right? Not because I don't know what I'm talking about or couldn't have found this information myself, but because I'm busy, and it's so much faster to do this. And it's a lot cheaper for us if we don't have to hire a researcher, right? Because like you and I can do the vetting.
So I have an idea, totally unrelated. We're going on a tangent, and then we'll go back to this. We should develop AI Albert, AI Nate, and then the two of them should get together and host a podcast. Could you imagine that? Like the two AIs of, our voices and like.
But research tells us, Nate, that podcast will be just as bad as this one.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what we actually need is AI Nate to host with real Albert, and for real Nate to host with AI Albert.
Yeah, that would be. So what is this whole conversation about AI, like what's the impact it's having on this shortage?
Well, the shortage is less of a problem than it was, say, 5 years ago, right? Because really? I think so. Because your average, first off, it used to be true that one project, one planner, right? This is largely because I was working on larger projects. So you need at least one planner, maybe a couple of supporting schedulers to go, like help, right, to be the boots on the ground and stuff, like do some of the data work and whatnot. Now it's more like 4 projects, one planner, or 5 or 6 or 10. Okay. Right? So people are being asked to multitask. I don't think that's helping their quality at all, but that's a different topic.
But it's funny that you say that. Like even my kids, right? They're on, it's not necessarily AI, but like my daughter is looking at, I don't know, she's creating a birthday list on Pinterest or something. And I'm talking to her and she's actually responding. And I don't know how she's doing both things at the same time. Like she's actually responding to me. Like, are we evolving as a species? Like, who knows? But it's funny you make that distinction, because it's weird, right? Like the whole multitasking, like, is it bad? Is it good? Like, we're in a big transition.
Most of the research on multitasking
is bad.
Leads to 2 conclusions, right? One, it's bad. Like it doesn't do anything good for your quality. It doesn't do anything good for your attention span. It doesn't actually improve your productivity all that much. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because most people aren't actually multitasking. They are sequentially tasking. So they're task switching all the time and think, I'm getting so many things done. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yep. But they're not doing all those things at once. They're doing one and then the other, and then switching back and then switching back again. And we know from other research that, that kind of task switching can kill your productivity by up to 30%.
Yeah, you're not actually producing anything, as you say.
Yeah, so that's a real concern when you have people who are so massively multitasked as part of their professional expectations, right? Like, I mentioned we're doing a procedure rewrite. Some of the planner schedulers who work for this client have 12, 15 projects on the go. And that's just too many, right? Because like I said earlier, if you're going to be a decent planner or risk analyst, then you need to have some knowledge of the scope, right?
What are we talking about? Like, can you just, I don't know, somehow quantify what that means? Like 12 projects? Like what is that?
Well, I mean, the only reason why it's even possible, and this gets back to your original question, is because the technology has improved so much, right? So what it really means is that a person is doing the minimum effort required to meet standards and practices for their trade in that role at that client or at that, company, whatever.
Right.
What is that minimum? Depends on the client. But generally speaking, for a scheduler, it means that you have received an update in some form from the field. You've processed that update into, say, your P6 schedule. You produce your percents complete, your actuals. You jam that up into the cloud, let the reporting suite do its thing. You take a look at the report, make sure it doesn't say anything too insane. You write up some narratives about it. You do your variance explanations. You toss it to your PM for a review, and then you move on to the next one. And you can do that almost as fast as I just said it.
Right.
Not absolutely that fast, because doing the data entry part, and this is the reason why a lot of schedulers are confused for data entry people, because a big chunk of their job is data entry, and there's no getting away from that, really.
Right.
But it's the part of the job that is A, the most time consuming, and B, the most vulnerable to automation in the future.
Right.
So as soon as those kinds of updates start getting reliably produced by some kind of machine intelligence or automatic data capture from the field or a synthesis of other existing systems and producing schedule updates, or, God forbid, what if critical path method scheduling dies? I think that it's in a slow decline right now. I think that we're watching it die in real time. And when companies start to walk away from critical path method scheduling and you don't need a P6 schedule anymore, that means you also don't need somebody feeding the beast with data. You'll get that data from somewhere else. So the number of required planners and schedulers is likely to go down, even as the number of projects that they're expected to execute goes up. It's a complex framework that we're dealing with here. There's a lot going on in the landscape, but doesn't mean we need to stop training new planners, right? Because 10,000 boomers are retiring daily in the U.S. A survey of people who have recently taken a new job found that 3% of them believe that knowledge transfer from their predecessor was adequate.
Wow.
3%.
Wow.
So, and it can take 3 to 5 years to get good at something like this. Like the famous Malcolm Gladwell, the 10,000 hours.
Right.
Right. Well, if you have a full-time job, that's about 2,000 hours a year. 10,000 hours is 5 years, folks.
Wow. Yeah. So you said something before about risk analysts commanding salary premiums. I was hoping you could expand on that. So you said that risk analysts command sort of a 20 to 40%, if I got that right, premium over sort of general project controls. And you've identified risk as kind of being one of the areas that are being hurt the most. What does that mean? What's that premium?
People are happy to pay that premium because when they get a capable risk analyst, someone who's really seasoned and knows their stuff, they're also getting a capable planner scheduler. They're also getting a capable cost estimator. They're getting a person who can wear a lot of hats.
It's a full package, basically.
It's a full package. Yeah, exactly.
Triple threat. Yes.
Yeah, it's a real song.
I don't know
and
why
dance
I was
man
so
of
excited
project
about
controls.
that. Triple threat.
Yeah. Well, because you're a fan of 1930s cinema, of course.
Maybe. Yep.
Yeah. So
am I? I don't know.
Let's find out. Let's do a movie night. Anyway, yeah, you get somebody who
What's
can
your
really
favorite
do it all.
movie, Albert? What's your favorite movie?
What's my favorite movie?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mine's Army of Darkness. I'm going to wear it.
Dude, that is a solid choice.
Anyways. Okay, so the premium. The premium
is because you're talking about the 5 years to get good at one thing. Yeah. Well, a risk analyst isn't good at one thing. They have to be good at everything.
Lots of things, yeah.
So your average really capable risk analyst, who can run a QRA by themselves and speak with some intelligence and force about risk and scheduling and all that other stuff, that person probably has 10, 12, 15 years experience. I'm sitting here talking to you with 17 years, right? So, and I feel like I got pretty good at the quantitative risk analysis thing maybe 5 years ago.
A month ago?
Yeah.
How long does it take to hire a risk analyst here at Dokanish?
Oh, we haven't tried. The only one we've ever hired is Roger. So again, hey, Roger, how you doing, man?
Hey, Roger.
Yeah, he's literally the only experienced risk analyst we've ever hired. And there's exactly one other person that's been on our immediate to hire list.
Yep.
And you'll never guess how we found that guy.
Flares?
Roger trained him.
Of course.
Yeah. Flares. Yeah, exactly. Smoke signals.
Albert, let's just wrap this all up. What's your one piece of advice for our listeners with regard to the shortage?
Yeah, I actually have two, right? So if you are a junior, I know,
just one.
Nate is shaking his head ruefully at me right now. Okay, so how about this? One piece of advice for
Nope, you can give two. I will allow it.
Okay, all right. I promise it'll make sense. It's one piece of advice depending on who you are. So if you are an experienced, project controls professional like myself, or Roger again. Hey man, how you doing? If you're an experienced project controls professional, then my piece of advice is expect to do a lot of training to get a decent project controls professional. Be a good trainer if you want to have good teammates at your disposal, because it's not necessarily true that you're just going to be able to go to the market and magic up a project controls team. I have found that very much not to be true over the past few years. Like, our filtration system goes from thousands of applicants to 2 or 3 who get interviews to none that we hire a lot of the time, right? So we can't count on hiring people. We have to train them. So, if you are a seasoned professional looking to staff up a team, you better get hiring so you can start training those people right now, And so that brings me to my advice for brand new people getting into things, right? And actually, this is a piece of advice that Claudette Smith from Hess Corporation gave when we were asking at AACE. Remember her?
Yep.
Yeah. So Claudette said, find a mentor. That was the best advice you could possibly give to somebody. Like, find somebody to latch onto and learn from who knows what you want to know, and find out how they got there. Walk in their footsteps, but don't walk too deeply in their footsteps. Don't hold to that so strongly that you wind up being 10 years ago's best risk analyst. You want to be 10 years from now's best risk analyst. So you have to take the lessons from that experienced mentor and mate them up with all of the new technology and new skills and experience and the changing project landscape to create a new kind of project controls professional. One that is AI literate from jump, right? Like, I had to learn how to use it as the technology was developing. Well, somebody entering the workforce in 5 years, they're going to enter with a mature suite of AI-driven technologies and super advanced machine learning data analytics at their disposal. So what are you going to do with that? Like, you have a massive stockpile of incredible stuff at your experience or at your fingertips. What are you going to do with it? Right.
Yep.
So you need to start thinking along those lines. Like, I'm not saying every project controls person needs to boil down to being an analyst, because that's not enough, right? You need somebody who can take that analysis and test it against real world. This is something that Ben Flyberg is really big on. Like, your best idea is useless if it hasn't been tested, right? So, take the data analytics, go out there into the field and test them, right? Make sure that what you're thinking is going to work does work. And when you figure, and by the way, learning that something doesn't work is just as good as learning that something does work. Okay. So test your ideas, be a thought leader, but not in the I'm on LinkedIn, I'm doing a thought leadership post kind of way, but in a way of like, no, I've been down this road. I know how this works. I know how this goes. Oh, I know how to use that tool. Oh, have I heard of Replit? You bet I've heard of Replit. I use it to build these 5 things, that kind of thing, right?
Right. And there you have it, folks.
Yeah, learn to use Replit.
Replit,
yeah.
We have a love-hate relationship, me and Replit.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks, Albert.
Thank you, Nate. Hey, everybody, it's Albert here. Thanks for tuning in to the Risky Planner podcast. We hope today's conversation was informative and, above all else, inspires you to excellence in what you do. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. I'd also like to thank Thompson Igbo for letting us use his excellent music on our show. If you like what you hear, check him out at igbomusic.com. That's EGBO music.com. Talk at you later. So I ran out of things to say about that, and I'm going to be honest with you.
Fair enough.